as we go into the second half of the split.
All right, so just to remind you, cross-group play still in effect. Group A, G2 eSports taking on Group B, Splyce. Straight out the gate, Splyce, they were the ones that selected blue side, and they're targeting Mithy's champion pool. Braum and Thresh removed from the table. On the other side, Zach and Caitlyn. What do you expect to see next, or what are we setting up for first pick-wise?
Wow, huge amount of support focus. I'm looking at Tahm Kench suddenly rising in value, but we're also moving back possibly to some of the more range supports. The big thing you have to bear in mind is that Camille is something that Mickey has had a lot of success with in the past, and he's even brought out the Gragas support last split too. So there's still a number of options for Mickey, but I don't know how confident Mithy is now going to feel with the jungle support role being so pinched. G2 going for very standard red side bans. Oh, and of course, a very common Rakan, but the Tahm Kench is still open, which is a great answer for the Rakan during laning phase and throughout the game.
All right, Rakan has been played twice already by Mickey. Let's see how well he can perform with all the bans, as you've alluded to. He's going to look towards maybe that Tahm Kench, and Gragas is up and available. We've seen the likes of that AD carry support and jungler being picked in the first rotation many times in the past. Let's see whether or not Splyce or G2 decide to do that as well. One of the other tanks, yes! Sejuani, baby! I'm so excited to see her back on the Rift here in European soil.
So we can talk a lot more about her when we get into game, but the core things you have to remember is she's a pretty strong jungler. With the recent Cinderhulk changes, with her overall rework that happens to Sejuani, she is a jungler that provides a very similar role to that of both Gragas and Zac. She scales very well, really powerful team fighter, and she is tanky. Super tanky, and it is going to be difficult for Splyce to shred through that level of tanky.
Interesting then, you also lock in the Kalista when you've got a Tahm Kench as well as that Sejuani. Kalista, not necessarily the greatest of tank busters, but let's see what Splyce can do and what they're trying to set themselves up for. No surprises on the Gragas. G2 will lock in Varus to complement their Tahm Kench. And I know Sven, big fan of all the utility that Varus can offer against all sorts of champions. Isn't that right, Vedius?
Yeah, I had a great chat with Sven about Varus in particular, and he does feel that between the utility AD carries of Varus and Ashe, he usually prefers Varus. It ties in very much of what he can do in the mid-game and how heavily you can punish the laning phase, and he thinks that it can actually do very well into champions like Kalista early on, up until she gets that Vamp Scepter, where she becomes a little bit more obnoxious. But with the Tahm Kench, he should be fairly safe. He has a lot of peel, but you can already see team fighting composition starting to be built for G2, and now what I'm thinking is they just need a bit of extra damage. Orianna, Syndra, both great champions for perks that would fit very nicely in this composition, and I wonder whether or not they'll go for something like a Jarvan or a Gnar, or maybe even a Kled to just help facilitate the engage that Sejuani can provide alongside.
Well, we saw all of those champions actually hovered by Expect in Phase 1. We'll see what they decide to settle on. Phase 2 bans locked down for G2 eSports. They've removed Talia and the Galio. Happy to see that Galio taken off the table. NA mid Galio, definitely very powerful last week. And one of those blind picks you mentioned, Vedius, Syndra, now also removed, as well as the Renekton for Expect. Orianna still up, Corki still up. Perkz has played 5 games of Lucian mid this split, though this doesn't feel like it would be a Lucian comp.
The Orianna just makes more sense to me. It gives you a good laning phase. There are very few answers to it. It just synergizes very nicely with the composition that they're trying to build, and I think that it is very much a champion Perkz can have success with.
I have a quick stats moment for you, Vedius. In the 14 games that Splyce have played here in the summer split, Senkux has played 10 different champions, and not one of them has he played more than twice. Jax is locked in for the top lane, and it's blind.
I can see the glee on your face right now. So, I know Expect won't play it, but the ultimate counter to Jax is Malphite. No one will ever play it. I really wish that they would, because then you'd have the ultimate wombo combo comp coming out from G2. But I'm expecting something more along the lines of either a... Ooh, you could go Fiora or Camille for a little bit more of a skill matchup.
Ooh, quick stats moment. Fiora, 100% win in the EU LCS, 8 games played. But it's not going to get locked in. It's going to be the Jarvan, which you talked about earlier.
So Jarvan does fit very nicely with the comp. You can see they have great hard engage, really powerful team fighting, very potent scaling coming out from the G2, but it almost feels like Splyce were expecting this because the most common pick you'll see into the Jarvan over in places like the LCK is this Jax pick. Very difficult for Jax to really stop, very difficult for the Jarvan to stop the Jax getting to that Trinity Force, getting to that scaling point. And we can talk more about it in the game. There's going to be a lot of interesting matchups to talk about, but focusing in a little bit more on the composition from Splyce, very heavy on the 1-3-1 or even the 1-4 that we heard the analyst desk talk a lot about in yesterday's games.
Oh, so many tools available to them. Corki with the package can move between lanes. Jax, there's just a point in the game where he becomes unstoppable. However, Jax is not the greatest at team fighting.
No.
And when I look at G2's, and then I look at G2's team composition, Jarvan, Sejuani, Orianna, Varus, those are pretty heavy team fighters.
Yeah. Yes, they are. It's going to be extremely important for G2 to play around things like the Dragon, like the Baron, and really just set up these 1-4 plays or just group up mid and make fights happen. Vision is going to be extremely important in this game, but for Splyce, it's all about getting that Jax ahead. I'd love to see Trash invest early vision and focus in towards Wonder, setting him up for success.
Ladies and gentlemen, in Berlin and around the world, it's G2 eSports taking on Splyce. And we have got Jarvan and Sejuani locked in for the flailing former kings of Europe. Splyce want to try and take them down. And there is never a better time to strike a G2. I'm going to quote Perks from about 3 weeks ago, where he said, and I quote, G2 eSports will not drop a game after Rift Rivals on the EU LCS stage. Let's find out whether or not he eats those words today.
Well, he has a pretty fun composition to begin the second half of the split. Which matchup do you want to talk about, Quick Shot? Because we got a lot of fun ones. I'm taking a guess as to you're looking at the top lane.
I'm wondering, it starts with a J on both sides, and it ends with a 4. Tell me, Jax, Jarvan, I mean, you mentioned it, it's a matchup we have seen in the LCK, is that right?
Yes, very commonly. So the thing about Jarvan is it's extremely difficult for him to go all in onto a Jax, because every time he tries to, the Jax can immediately punish him with his E, the little spinny lamp thing.
Counter-Strike.
The Counter-Strike, right.
I got
right?
you.
So every time you try to all-in, you're going to get stunned and you're going to end up losing the trade. So what you're going to often see from Expect in the 1v1 matchup is a lot of poke and harassment, mainly from his Q, to just slowly chip away at the Jax. And every time he tries to jump on you, you can then get a very quick knock-up, and then you just have to disengage. Use the shield to soak up the Counter-Strike. The big thing for the Jarvan is just you can never be the one to engage. Poke, poke, poke is the name of the game for Expect. But that's just going to give a lot of freedom for Wonder, because he knows there's no real kill threat, to just farm away. And once he gets his Trinity Force, that's where things really start to get difficult for the Jarvan.
Oh, Trinity Force for Jax, Power Spike. We do have a very brief pause. I'll give you an update once I hear exactly what transpires. Thank you for the in-depth review of the top lane. I'm interested to see whether or not Wonder can get ahead. Mid lane feels like it's going to be a bit of a snooze fest. Teleport Corki into an Orianna.
Wow. Didn't notice that.
That's why I told you, Vedius. I got you. What do you make of the teleport? I mean, it just goes back to what you said in Picks and Bans, right? 1-3-1 or 1-4.
Yeah.
Just really play the map, play the silence. If you can unlock Jax's split push, threaten with the teleport or the package, for example.
The thing is, this is very reminiscent of when champions like Victor used to run teleport, right? And yeah, okay, sure, you can send your mid lane mage, quote unquote, off onto a side lane, and then they have that ability to join the fight if they need to. But the problem with the teleport is, ideally, you want to be using it to set up a flank, to get a good position off, to then suddenly get a huge amount of damage off onto the enemy team. But on these mid-lane squishy mages, it's extremely difficult to do that. The only real value of that teleport is it brings you to the fight 4 seconds later. Like, it's extremely slow, it's not that effective, and it's really not going to offer a huge amount of value in the laning phase, because Perks, yeah, he can look to be aggressive, he can look to try and force you back, and then you can just TP back in with an extra item over him. But aside from that, like, I'm not a massive fan, is the TLDR, and I think something like a barrier, especially against, or a cleanse, against Varus, Sejuani, I think a cleanse would have been more valuable.
Well, we'll find out if Senkux can get the value of that teleport or not. Just to give you guys an update, it was Senkux that initiated the pause. There is a technical related matter that he's investigating, and while our referees and QA guys are busy triaging, I'd actually like to pull up the picks and bans graphic just to remind everybody of the champions. I'm personally excited about the top lane that Jack's taking on the Jarvan. Let's talk a little bit more about this Sejuani and Gragas. Both love to team fight, both love to scale a little bit. Both have got game-changing amounts of crowd control.
Yep.
And I'm very interested to see whether Trick or Trashy will be showing up on stage.
So, we talked about the junglers, right? And I just want to give some context behind why we're seeing more tanky junglers. Cinderhulk was buffed. It now gives bonus, it gives more bonus health compared to what it used to. And the amount of burn damage that you do to jungle camps has also increased. So your clear speed is better once you actually complete the item, and you get tankier off the back of it from the natural tank items that you build anyway. This means that tanky junglers just have an easier time in the jungle, they're slightly harder to punish, and they just have a huge amount of teamfight value, but you lose early game impact. It's a very obvious trade-off, and the reality is that you can very easily punish it. But what we've noticed from EU teams is they kind of suck at punishing early game advantages. So that's why we're seeing this shift, especially from EU teams. But they're also big comfort picks. These champions are easy to play. The win conditions are very obvious because it's very much group up, fight, force engages. And for these two in particular, I think it's super important that both Trashy and Trick have comfort champions that allow them to perform their best.
Well, let's see how comfortable Trick is on the Sejuani. Ladies and gentlemen, we are bumping back into game, jumping back into game. And as we do, Wonder and Expect already bouncing backwards. Taking a quick look at Trick, he's cleared his blue buff. Appears to be working on the Wolf Camp.
And I want to take this opportunity to talk about Sejuani because we actually haven't, I believe we haven't seen her in the European LCS since her rework. So there's a bunch of changes that have happened to her. And one of the things that a lot of people may not be aware of is all the different things in the kit. The big thing to note about Jungle Sejuani in particular is how her passive works. She now gets passive armor as it all in happens in bottom lane.
Hold that thought. Mickey and Cobby continue to jump. Ignite was thrown down by Mickey, by the way. Mithy's down to 200 HP. But Mickey and Cobby managed to back away. All right, so back to Sejuani and the passive and its interactions with monsters.
So yes, so the thing is, Sejuani gets passive armor and magic resistance, and when you get hit by an enemy champion, that then gets procced, so then you lose it after a few seconds. But it doesn't get procced by jungle monsters, which means that you have all these bonus resistances while you're just doing all this clear, and you actually have a huge amount of health as you go through the jungle. Combine that with the already very strong clear speed, means that you can have a very healthy jungler alongside Gragas, who's ready to set up some ganks earlier.
And of course, you can actually see the skill set being demonstrated in the little picture-in-picture. This is confirmed the first Sejuani of Summer Split, and let's see whether or not Trick gives it 100% win or 100% loss, because at the moment, Trashy wants the Krugs. Makes his way in, resets the big one. Just a little bit of shenanigans as Trick is pretty low on HP, so he doesn't actually want this fight. And this is what you mentioned, Betty, some of the early game weaknesses from Trick's Sejuani in the early game.
So right now, Trashy is just taking advantage of the fact that Wonder's playing extremely forward onto Expect, and he's taking advantage of that counter-strike. And I love the way in which Wonder is playing this. He knows he has a jungler nearby, he knows he can afford to just get into the face of Expect, and it's just extremely difficult for Jarvan to really do anything. We talked a lot about it earlier on, and Trick is just constantly being zoned out of his jungle. So great early playmaking we're seeing from Wonder, being able to build himself a fairly significant early lead. And what I'm expecting him to do is probably go for a very early Sheen or a Phage, depending on whether he wants a little bit more health or he wants a bit more damage.
All right, let's find out. Corrupting Potion as well as the Longsword. So Phage probably the name of the day for that one. Trashy's going to back away, and we'll see how that continues to play out. Both teleports used in the top lane. And the one lane we've not mentioned yet, because there's a lot of trading. Look at that, leap forward. Counter-strike into the Empower, then Expect instantly returns the trade. The Golden Age just helped a little, albeit not a lot.
And that's something you always have to be very careful of if you're the Jax in this matchup, because whenever you go onto the Jarvan and you've lost the Counter-Strike, that's your opportunity to trade back onto him. And you can actually see how much health Wonder has lost as a result of it. So you don't really need to actually do anything. You can just sit there and farm, and then every time the Jarvan goes onto you, you can punish him. But classic Wonder, he is a carry player. He likes to get a lead, and he's just trying to push as much of an advantage as he can.
Yeah, let's see how well Wonder can continue to play. Plus 20 CS already, and I was trying to get to the fact that we've not looked at that mid lane. Perks and Senkux just continue to trade, and our eyes are going to be on the ability to impact this game. Perks, will he bounce back? He's had mediocre stats this summer. You can see his EU LCS averages all year long, slightly up, and then his Rift Rivals struggles. But we know the caliber that he can reach, right? His maximum potential.
And if you talk to the guy, it's interesting because he's pretty confident in his own performances. I think that he knows he didn't have the best play during Rift Rivals, but also he had a new experience of what it's like to have enemy junglers literally sit in mid as we see another engagement bot.
All right, those stats are, of course, just EU LCS Summer. Sven forced to flash. BS comes down. The Devour from Mithy buys a couple extra seconds. Cobby gets away from the piercing arrow. Mithy's trying to get that tongue lash down. Sven, flash and heal used. Cobby, though, had to do the same.
So the great thing about this Kalista and Rakan bottom lane is how aggressive you can be in the early game. And one of the big things that Tahm Kench counters is your all-in setup, but that can be mitigated if you knock up both the AD carry and the support at the same time. There'll be a bit of back and forth training between the two junglers, but the big thing to praise here for what Mickey did is the moment Cobby got eaten, Mickey went into tower range. He soaked up that tower shot so he didn't lose his AD carry's life.
Yeah, very nicely done. Cobby and Mickey playing very forward at themselves. A few CS.
Keen.
Oh, still hate that. Splyce now setting up for the mid lane. Body slam flash comes out from Trashy. Perks forced to flash and heal his way to safety. Not enough damage yet from Senkux, despite having the Phage. And another, you know, Splyce, they were winning top lane plus 20 CS. Aggressive in the bot lane. Damn it. Winning bot lane, at least in terms of pressure and sitting on G2's toes. And now, of course, Senkux with the flash advantage over Perks.
Yeah, Splyce so far having a decent early game. Love the fact that Trashy's trying to be proactive. There's a bit of disrespect coming out from Perks because he saw them in the top half of the river, and Trick had just backed away. So there was no need for him to play that forward. And as a result, he ends up getting punished for it. And this ties back to what we were talking about, right? This guy has not had the best performances at Rift Rivals. He really was highly pressured. Now that his flash and healer down on that Orianna, you're just asking to be ganked again by either a roaming Wonder or a level 6 Gragas. Yeah,
Trashy's going to be very close to level 6. We'll see how quickly he manages to secure that. Currently looks like he's on even CS with Trick, as Wonder jumps onto Expect, but his Counter-Strike timed out. Expect looks for the flag and drag, won't find a target. Here comes Wonder. Q and W gets that empowered auto as well. And Trashy, by the way, hit level 6 first, slightly ahead of Trick.
On average, Trick is 37 seconds faster at getting level 6 than Trashy. That's usually because he likes to sit in his own jungle, focus on a lot of farming, but because of a lot of the early skirmishes that happened from Trashy, the fact that he was utilizing the pressure from his lanes, that did mean that he could get that early level 6 and get that early advantage over Trick.
Yeah, I really like that. On average, 37 seconds.
That was a quick stat for you.
Nicely done. You're stepping on my territory here.
My stat was valuable. So.
Oh, that's just offensive.
I can't wait for the Ocean Dragon stats you have prepped for us this game, because I'm sure you've got a plenty.
I mean, I have some, but they're just not as exciting.
Do you know, if you tell people not to do something, they do it?
I know, it's
like,
the worst.
Don't think about an elephant, Trevor, and you're like, ah!
Have you ever seen an elephant before? Do they have elephants in Wales?
No.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, that was a stupid question. I actually don't know why I said that.
Go on, Trev.
Well, we're getting close to 10 minutes here, and G2, despite falling a little bit behind, they've not conceded any kills. They've not conceded any huge deficits.
The Trick is level 6. Perks is level 8. Expect is level 7, right? Something that I've seen a lot of, or WE, the LPL team, do extremely well at Rift Rivals was utilizing level spikes and item spikes. And one of the things I was so impressed with is the way in which they use things like the Galio and the Jarvan Ultimate. The moment they had it ready, they tried to force a play. TP is unavailable for Expect. Trick is level 6, but they're going for a play down bot.
There's 2 teleports available for Splyce. Wonder not going to use it yet. Mickey actually got thrown in by the Fate's call, and Mithy was forced to flash away. think he had Sven inside his belly. All right, so another juicy target, flashless for Trashy, as it looked like Dragon was started, but nothing too exciting just yet.
But Trashy, he's coming back to the middle lane. There's no summoner spells on top of Perks, but bear in mind how he is hanging around the top side of his lane, knowing that he has vision in the top side of the jungle as the crowd continues to tilt Trevor.
Yeah, it does indeed. Looking at the rest of Splyce's vision, they've got a couple of control wards to work with. Perks, remember, no flash. Trashy doesn't have his up either. Instead, he's going to go back. Just leave that ward, not signal to G2 where he is by killing it. Vision is denied, and you can see Trick now again just moving in to clear the Scuttle Crab. So, young Vedius, who is going to falter first? It feels like Trashy's been a little bit more present in-game, you know, showing in lanes, getting in Trick's face. But Trick now with the flash up, with the ult up, surely he can impact someone.
The thing is, it's fine for both teams that they have a slow passive early game, right? Because Wonder, his focus is scaling. Rather than going for an early Trinity Force, he's instead decided to go for an early Tiamat. He's going to sit on that for a while now, but the reason why he's got it is for more wave clear, more wave pressure. Gives him more farm, gives him more freedom to roam around the map during the early game and help the rest of his team.
Oh, he did that on purpose.
He did, yes,
he did that on purpose, knowing full well that this crowd would get baited. Oh, Mithy, ever the troll.
What do you mean troll? His job is to clear wards, Trevor. So right now, Wonder, he has the pressure advantage up top, utilizing that Tiamat. Yeah, but to go back to what we were talking about earlier, this is fine for both teams, because Wonder, he's ramping up just fine, but G2, they're scaling to their team fight point. They want to get an item completed under their belt, maybe even two. They're waiting for the 25-minute mark. And can't you just be impressed that both teams are focusing on vision,
it's
Trevor?
Fantastic.
That's the key thing. We talked about how vision was a big issue for European teams at Rift.
It is. It's very exciting. And I actually am very happy to see teams playing the vision game and the counter vision game. And with the big signal that Dragon is secured, Trashy may fancy his chances at a dive. He stood on top of a ward, though, so not going to do so. Oh, this is risky. Teleport coming in for Senkai's Trick. Oh, looks for the Arctic Assault, but decided not to fire out the ulti. Expect, though, flags and drags. Gets a couple autos down with that martial cadence. Onto Trashy. Flash Cataclysm. Support coming in for G2. Here comes Tricky. Dashes on that Poro. But Poro's a big girl, and she's not moving that quickly yet.
Expect even use this flash to trade it for that of Trashy's. This is a very big deal during the early game because it's extremely difficult for Trashy to really set up any kind of early play without that flash available.
All right, you talked about Trashy. Let's look at some of his stats as we approach 15 minutes. Kills plus assists, he's sitting 5th in the league. His KDA, decent, 4.2. Got himself, 4th in the league. His gold difference is 11th. Because of Llama Bear being subbed by Amazing, both of whom technically have a higher goal difference at 15. But that's just Splyce, right? They're not really win lane, win game kind of squad.
But it also just makes you wonder kind of what Trashy is doing. And the kind of sad thing is this has been such a big question for Trashy for a very long time. Many times we've wondered, is he investing all of his early time ganking? Well, no, because that's not really the play style of Splyce. Is he investing a lot of his early game trying to set up wards? Well, I mean, sort of, but not really. Like, there's not a huge amount of focus on trying to control the early game vision. And he doesn't spend the rest of his early game farming. And so you have to wonder where all this goal is coming from. And it's just because he spends so much time, like, sitting in lanes trying to find a gank opportunity. And we saw it top lane. Think about how long he just sat in that brush trying to make a gank happen top. Think about how long he spent sitting mid lane trying to set up a gank onto Perks. A lot of his time is just sitting and waiting.
So what you could say is it's suboptimal.
Suboptimal.
We'll see whether or not Trashy can make the late game impact work. But now that we've celebrated that control ward being killed, I actually have a question for you guys. Do you have a moment for a quick stat? Because I have a good one for you.
We don't have time because Mithy's going for a play.
Oh, Wonder, will you ruin my quick stat moment? Counter-Strike, leap away. Yes, my quick stat is still alive. Ladies and gentlemen, the latest first blood in the EU LCS this summer was 18 minutes and 28 seconds. That is in 4 minutes from now, okay? And it was Roccat picking up first blood against G2. Let's see if G2 can beat that record and survive for longer. That's what we're looking for as the tower trade went down.
So This is a very common thing that you will see with many bot lanes that realize they're losing during the laning phase. And it's because they realize, look, we can't win this 2v2. Our tower's going to go down eventually. Rather than just sit here and wait for it to die and maybe get dived, let's swap to the other side of the map. Get a tower at the very least, trade it. Maybe we can even get that first tower blood. And then we open up the map more. We give a little bit more freedom for our bottom lane to get more farm and not really lose out in that 2v2 setup.
And looking at some of the itemization, Ninja Tab I picked up for Sven, as well as that Blade of the Rune King. And it was a Tiamat first, actually, as well as Ninja Tab for Wonder. One of the trading, of course, going back and forth on to Expect. Not actually going for that Trinity Force rush yet, so slightly different builds.
So I expected to, like, the early Tiamat isn't too unconventional because it just gives that extra bit of wave clear, but typically you will see a Trinity Force followed shortly after. It looks like that he might very well be rushing the Titanic Hydra. Alternatively, he has a few options on where he could go from there, and things like the Sterix Gauge if he wants to be a little bit tanky, but I would be surprised. Instead, he has now moved down to the bottom lane. More farm will be sent into his pocket. And both teams still playing towards their win condition. Very much Splyce, they want to play around the Jax, whereas G2, they're ramping up, getting ready for that full-on 5v5.
Oh, let's see whether or not Splyce can set up their 1-3-1 or their 1-4 and prevent all of the initiation. But holy crap, good luck preventing Tom Kench, Sejuani, and Jarvan from engaging on you.
Yep.
Because, of course, Mythic can gobble up, trick Sejuani, or expects J4 and really get in your face. I wonder if we can actually, I don't think we can track it live, but we'll have to ask the stats team for how many wards were killed by the end of this game, because it's just like, wards have lives too, you know?
No, they don't.
They have hit points.
Inanimate objects. Trevor, do not give them personalities. It's going to make it harder to kill them, all right? Oh, get wrecked. Observers just pwned you guys.
Oh, I love it so much.
Oh!
This is actually something that has happened a few times in the past. By the way, 1828, guys, 1828. That is the summer split record for the latest First Blood. We're a minute and a half away from breaking that. The actual annual record for EU LCS is 28 minutes and 22 seconds.
Oh, that was the Vitality Misfits game, right?
I don't care what the audience wants, but I want that record to be broken because I love a good, quick stat record-breaking day in the EU LCS, Vedius.
You and your quick stats. So, Infernal Drake is next on the boards.
Oh, that means a team fight, doesn't it?
That, I hope so. But Splyce recognized that the team fight of G2 is really strong, so they might completely avoid it. The Titanic Hydra has been done. Now build Trinity Force Wonder. I'd love to see it. I think it's a really good item on Jax. I think it gives him absolutely everything that he can need as wards continue to be killed.
Oh, Infernal Drake is alive. Both teams setting up. They have 25 seconds before the summer split record is broken. First Blood might be the latest of summer. Keep your eyes on that clock as the tension builds. Expect sends out the Demacian Standard. Manages to help out the team. 10 seconds. The knockup comes in. First Blood not going to be picked up yet. Dragon is secured. Stolen away by Splyce. Cataclysm comes down. Not yet. It's going to be a new record. First Blood will get picked up by Perks. A second kill by Sven, and G2 have found 3.
A massive team fight win for G2, but the action's not over yet as Mithy goes in.
Cobby manages to dash away before Perks shuts him down. Splyce get Dragon. G2 get the kills.
Splyce try to force a fight at the Infernal Drake. They don't want to give it away for free. They feel like that they're in a good enough position to try and challenge G2. But the point of this comp for G2 is to fight you. The positioning of Perks and Sven was perfect. G2 and Expect soaked up so much of the damage that it was guaranteed to go in the favor of G2. They get the forfeit 0, and they break a new LCS record.
Crucially, it is the latest First Blood of the summer split. By 2.5 seconds. And this is how it's set up.
Let's have a look. So you can see here, right now, there are no wards in the pit for Splyce. Trashy, he wants to go towards the Baron. I feel like at this point, Splyce, they just commit on trying to get the top tower and the mid tower. Give away the Drake. Instead,
Mickey goes in with no real follow-up. The 3 frontline members of Splyce are now focusing Trick and Expect, and look at the backline of Kobe and Senkux. They have to deal with Mithy, while Perks and Sven can just go deal with the frontline. Now there's no one left to protect the other members of Splyce, and they are forced to just run away. They had so many other options available. Splyce, they could have gone for the mid-tier 1. They could have also taken the tier 1 in the top lane, but instead they tried to challenge G2, and G2 punished them.
Absolutely did. I also just caught the back end of that flash after the flag and drag from Expect. Just exquisite mechanical ability there. And this means G2 eSports come out ahead. They're 2,000 gold up. There's a jump onto Perks in the mid lane. Glacial Fisher comes out, rather. The prison locking down. Nobody's dead yet. There goes the Devour coming out. Expect and Trick running for their lives. Cataclysm comes down. More knockups in the air. Shockwave catches onto Kobe. You can't be doing that. Here comes Wonder. Counter-strike and flash. Wonder gets his first of the game. That Titanic Hydra doing the damage. Leap into Empower. Counter-strike's not available yet. Wonder sidesteps the knockup before Senkux is unable to pick up the kill. Shooting down those rockets, and G2, they win the fight 2-for-1.
And the whole initial setup looked extremely promising for Splyce. They found a great pick onto Perks. They were about to shut him down and punish him for trying to face check a brush that he had no vision on. But the Tom Kench comes in for the save. Mithy buys enough time, and then we get this brawl back and forth. Neither team really poised and ready to go for the fight. But it ends up being a 1-for-1 overall. No real advantages gained either side. And it's both mid laners now just clearing out the wave.
Yeah, G2 managed to pick up that secondary kill at the back end of the fight. Maintain the gold lead, maintain the control, but Perks just really good survival instinct here.
So you can see he flashes out the way, and then he puts his ball in. He actually has vision, and he just doesn't respect the engaged potential of Mickey. Mithy then there to help keep him alive, and then Trick and Jarvan just soaking up a lot of the damage. Mickey with a really good knockup to deny a lot of the engagement coming out from G2, but with Trick out the way, Perks not really being able to get involved in the fight. The fact that Kobe slightly oversteps allows him to get that kill. Wonder then, he joins the fray, he's able to help out, and I think that Splyce, they just get a little bit too overzealous here, trying to dive down onto Sven, as another fight appears to be kicking off.
And just super quickly, something we mentioned in Bix and Bans, Kalista, not the greatest of tank killers.
Yeah.
Saw how many spears were lodged in Trick's backside. The Rend didn't do a lot. It's going to take a long, long time for Kobe to burst through that HP or work through that HP with the Kalista. Now, to be fair, Splyce's team comp can work very well if they split up. Maybe they don't need the 5v5s if they can unlock Jax. He's working towards that Trinity Force now. 23 minutes in, Chain of Corruption manages to tag. Wonder goes all the way forward, dodges a lot of autos. You can't dodge a shockwave. The quickness comes out from Mickey and he looks to escape. Valkyrie from Senkux buys some time. He's forced to flash into the Raptor pit. Mickey continues to get chased down. Expect has already used the Cataclysm. And Mickey knows how to use the blast cone as he escapes to safety.
Really solid thing there from Mickey. Notice how he anti-cancelled the actual knockup using his Q so that he could then trigger the blast cone even faster. But regardless, Wonder is dead. No flash available for Senkux. G2 have all 5 members and have full vision control around the river. Splyce, if they want to contest, they'll have to face check. For G2, they don't want to go for the risk. Instead, they're just going to back away and take the gold that they got for shutting down Wonder.
There's a little sentinel there, actually, that is flying in. On the observer, or at least on my spectator side, that sentinel is now parked in the Baron pit, so that's a bit interesting.
But looking back at how this play started, the actual engagement initially went onto Trashy, but then the root followed up onto Wonder, locking him in place. And while the on-hit effects won't apply, while he does have his counter-strike up, leave it long enough, and then you're able to shut him down. As we do see, I'm going to name her Delilah, is now stuck inside the Baron pit.
Yeah, Delilah, she be chilling. We've let our QA team know about it.
Will she be free, though?
Don't know. Look at the minimap. Trick is coming in to surround Wonder. You might be a mighty duck, but I don't think you can duck this fight, especially not with an Abyssal Voyage. Mithy's going to try to make his way in. Tongue Lash is dodged. Oh, Wonder. A little bit of the BM there, proving me wrong because he did duck the fight and get out with his life.
A bit of a communication breakdown there because Trick, he looked like he was coming in, immediately disengages as the ultimate from Mithy shows itself in the bottom lane. I feel like G2, they were a little bit afraid of Splyce rushing down the Baron, so they didn't want to commit down onto trying to kill Wonder.
Well, very clever. Glacial Prison comes down. Shockwave comes out as well. Senkax still manages to escape. Mickey buys some time thanks to the quickness. Barrel from Trashy splits up G2. Devour kept Trick alive for a few seconds and Expect looking. The flag, the drag. Manages to Cataclysm to safety. That puts Wonder back in the pit. G2 Esports get their 8th kill of the game. And Splyce are starting to get pushed around the map.
And you can see G2 looking much more like their former selves, knowing when to group up, feeling confident to try and just dive down onto this mid lane. And you're seeing the strength of champions like Sejuani, the ease of which you have to just force these fights is so strong. Throw the ulti out, force Senkax out of the fray almost immediately, and then as the rest of Splyce tried to come in to help out the rest of their teammates, G2 are just turning on them one at a time, through the vast amount of damage that they have with this 5-man squad.
It's just so interesting that even after constant fights like these, Various, G2 are still only 3,000 gold ahead. It's relatively close when you consider it's 26 minutes in.
You have to give a lot of respect to Splyce, the way in which they're constantly disengaging. It's very difficult for Splyce to hard commit because they're always aware of the Jarvan coming in from the flank. And unfortunately for Wonder, he just overstayed a little bit too long. They did have a tower advantage there too, otherwise that could have gone a lot worse for Splyce.
Oh, Mickey, good dash away. Perks' Shockwave doesn't find a target. It's only 1 tower to 1. Wonder with no teleport available. He's cleared out the bottom wave. And that will keep the bottom outer turret out. And that's what I was mentioning a moment or two ago. 2 items being completed pretty much across the board. Black Cleaver and Titanic for Expect, Ludens, Morello, as well as a Haunting Guys for Perks. So he's starting to scale up. Phantom Dancer for Sven. I think it's a great item when you think how many people are going to be jumping onto him in these team fights. And let's see whether or not G2 can keep finding initiation opportunities, because if they can, that's how their team comp wins.
I'm a little surprised that Perks would go for the Haunting Guys plus the Loon's Echo. Usually if you're Orianna, your third item either wants to be a Void Staff or a Death Cap, because that's when a lot of parties start to get a fair amount of magic resistance. But his burst is going to be a little bit less for a slightly earlier power spike, and sure, he'll hit pretty hard now, but he really does want to make sure he gets those later game value items fairly soon.
Well, we'll see what he decides to do. We did see that Sentinel quickly flying in and out of the Baron pit. Just to confirm with you guys, it was a visual bug for Delilah. Was that what you called her earlier?
I did call her Delilah.
It was just on the spectator side. Our technical guys backstage.
And the reason why I called it Delilah is because in my head I was thinking, why won't you move out of the Baron pits? Why Delilah?
Well, why our teams are fighting around it now? Trick and Trashy.
Because they want the Baron, Trevor. That's why they're fighting around it.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. In terms of vision setup, let's see what the advantage is. Splyce, not the deepest of vision. G2, they've got a couple of wards, actually quite a lot of wards around that pit. So Splyce need to do their due diligence, clear it out, buy a few more controls, and then we'll need to see who can unlock their win condition. The split push power of Splyce gets amplified with Baron. There's a Captain Obvious play-by-play statement if ever you've heard one.
Yeah, I think it's really important to highlight the win conditions for both these teams, because what G2 are looking to do is fight. That is pretty obvious, but the way in which they do it is very difficult. Because you can't just say, let's fight, because Splyce is going to be like, hey, no. And they're literally just going to divide G2 as much as possible. So G2, they have to force Splyce into fighting them. And the only way in which they can do that is gaining full vision control over an area and starting an objective like the Baron or the Dragon. While all this is going on, Splyce are playing towards their win condition, which is Wonder in the side lane. Constantly pressuring on to Expect. Trinity Force now completed means that he will win out on that 1 versus 1. And if G2 ever try to group, they are going to lose an objective in exchange. So G2, they need to be extremely decisive, otherwise Wonder is eventually just going to take the rest of their base.
All right, Wonder and Expect continue to trade. It's Black Cleaver versus Trinity Force, both top laners with Titanic Hydra. But Chain Vest and that Negatron Cloak still working with Expect. Excuse you, Trashy, as he's trying to hold on to that mid-outer turret. It's 30 minutes into the game, and only 3 towers have been killed. The threat for both teams to engage and start fights is so great, which I think is why you're seeing this huge amount of respect and zoning, you know, respecting the zone of control, a zone of initiation, as it were. CS numbers pretty even. It is a gold lead for G2, but it's not equating into an itemization lead yet. Not a huge amount anyway.
No, for the time being, the gold gap is absolutely fine for the side of Splyce. And G2, they're being a little bit slow right now. I'd love to see them being a little bit more proactive. 30 minutes into the game, this is very late. And here we go. This is a play I wanted to see. They've kicked off the Baron. They've seen a bunch of Splyce members just go back. There is no vision from the side of Splyce. Let's see if they know this is happening.
Oh, Splyce, they're going to be caught napping. Teleport comes down from Expect. This looks like it's going to be an uncontested Baron. Callista, Cobby, he's just finished the recall. Mickey, the quickness is available. Can you save the day? No! G2, they just pick up a uncontested Baron at 30 minutes.
Very clean from G2. We talked so much about how they needed to control the vision. I thought that they wanted to try and force a fight instead. They just punished the fact that Splyce, they went back to base, there was no wards around the Baron pit, and they had the damage with the Varus, with the Sejuani, and with the TPing and Expect, along with Perks sitting in the middle lane, looking like G2 weren't really doing anything. That results in them getting the Baron. Now they need to use it. Group mid, they need to set up Sidewave up in the top lane, make sure that's slow pushing in their favor. Send Jarvan down into the bottom lane to keep Jax there, and then get vision around this bottom half of the jungle so it's easier for him to rotate between the lanes and make it easier for G2 to start a fight.
Oh, that's just an unforgivable mistake from Splyce and just great recognition from G2. This game has been defined by ward kills. The entire game for 30 minutes, we've seen wards and counter warding. And G2 just, they gleamed more information from that, realizing they could punish Splyce. Okay, so Splyce now need to defend. 2.5 minutes of Baron-empowered G2. A team that has a 5,000 gold lead, and Senkux has got the package picked up and an Infinity Edge. Phantom Dancer completed for Cobby as well with the Hurricane Blade of the Rune King. So there are some huge items power spikes on the side of Splyce that have just been hit.
Yes, there certainly have been. That Infinity Edge is going to be a big deal for Senkux. Cobby, he will too be doing a fair amount of damage. I am just concerned as to how easily he will be able to shred through this front line of G2. As you rightly said, Callista kind of falls off as the game progresses, but now we have both members grouped up in the middle lane. Sven not quite there yet. Splyce might try and force something.
All right, Trick, he's got the Glacial Prison available to him. That bowler could be the bowler of death for Splyce. Outer mid turret falls. Mickey sitting on the back end. The quickness and flash available to him. Wonder's making his way up, and there's a lot of potential teleport wards. Wonder, what can you do?
Well, he's going to try and go for a flank, which I think is extremely risky. Right now, there's enough wave clear on the side of Splyce so they can just keep G2 in the middle lane, and he can continue to push bot. He has the TP available. But instead, they're going to go for the Cloud Drake, and that's just going to give a window for G2 to run it down mid.
They will do indeed. Trick is going to have the help of Sven and Perks. Hits a couple attacks. Inner mid turret is going to fall. The Cloud Drake, by the way, not secured by Wonder. He didn't commit to it. There's still a minute of Baron buff enabled, and G2 are now setting their sights on the inhibitor turrets. Trashy gets a body slam onto Trick. Where's the explosive cast? There's the Fate's Call. Two-man knockup. Look at the barrel from Trashy. G2 are on the retreat, but Sven's not dead. Trashy forced to flash for his life. Trick with the Ren stacks. Not going to be killed yet. So many Ren stacks. Not enough to get popped. Cobby takes a huge chunk of damage from Perks. He's sent packing. Senkux throwing out the spatulas from Earth. Fires out the missile barrage. Continues to chase. Valks forward into a command attack. And nobody dies.
How does nobody die in that fight? The fact that Splyce were able to keep all members alive and force G2 back just goes to show how beautifully they were able to execute upon that play. When we get the replay, we can really see how exactly they did it. And I feel like the big thing is you have to keep your eyes here on Mickey with the initial initiation, followed by a fantastic knockback, and then a great stun from Wonder. So G2, they never get that wombo combo opportunity. Perks, he still has his ulti. He's forced to use it on to Wonder at the very end of the fight, not really threatening anyone. Sven, he was pushed out of this fight very early on. And I have nothing but praise for the way in which Splyce executed, immediately punishing the poor positioning and seeing an opportunity and just rushing for it. They all turn around and they shut down the team fighting power of G2.
Well, G2, 8 kills to 1. They extend their gold lead thanks to the Baron buff, but it has not resulted in absolute map control yet. Cloud Drake still available. Mickey throws down the quickness, gets a knock up on the way out onto Expect, but somewhat of a fizzle of that ultimate. And the rest of Splyce now back away. Vedius, do you know what the least amount of kills that Splyce have secured in a game this split is, the number?
I want to say it's 1.
No. Well, it is now. It is now. However, up until this point in the 14 previous games, Splyce had scored a minimum of 7 kills. That was the lowest.
Hashtag quick stats.
And that's what Splyce are at risk of losing now. They have twice as many towers as they do champion kills.
Yes, they do. And it's only 2, which is not great. G2, they've had full control of the majority of this game, and now they're continuing to extend that lead by taking down the tier 2 down in the bottom. Splyce, they're holding on for the time being. They've yet to really utilize this Jax. He has not been such a big threat. The G2 are constantly struggling to find an answer to him. They're always successfully dragging him back to be with the rest of his team and force him into these team fight scenarios. And it's important to remember that from Jax's ultimate, he gets a lot of stats, especially level 18. He's extremely tanky and he can soak up a lot of the damage, so he can be very drawn out and valuable. It's just the threat, the difficulty of him getting onto the back line and his only single target damage is what makes him less valuable in team fights, say, compared to a Jar.
Oh, I'm so excited to see these late game team fights. We're approaching 37 minutes. Splyce went toe-to-toe with the Unicorns of Love about 3 or 4 weeks ago and won team fights. They had a scaling comp, they had the options to do so. While Jax is not the greatest in team fights, we saw just how well Wonder could dance on the fringes, find the right time to jump in. So definitely not out of this game yet, but Splyce definitely playing from behind. They can't afford to get caught out of position. Wonder continues the split push down the bottom lane.
Well, the big question for me is Splyce, they wanted to show that they could be more proactive compared to this series versus Fnatic, and I feel like so far they haven't been, but G2, they're certainly ready.
All right, Mickey's able to dash over the wall. Manages to get to safety in the Raptor pit. Look at the split focus here. Splyce got 2 men in the entrance to the river, 2 men in the entrance to the Raptor camp. All of this buying time, because you might wonder where Wonder is, and he's busy hammering away on Expect. Chunked down 1/3 of his hit points at 0 cost.
Bear in mind, Expect, he has no lifesteal either, so he's going to struggle to be able to deal with that kind of harassment coming out from Wonder. The Baron is now alive. Dragon will be spawning relatively soon. Splyce, they have priority over the river, and now they start to group up as a 5-man unit.
Vedius, we're nearly 40 minutes into the game. I want brief win conditions for both teams as you've seen them playing. As we've seen 37 minutes of the game unfold, Trick thinks about lobbing the bowler, but does not do it yet.
Well, at this point, I still feel it's the same for Wonder. You just need to sit on a side lane and just be that side pressure threat. You have so much wave clear in the form of Gragas, Corki, Kalista to an extent that you can hold off G2. You just have to be very respectful of their ability to all engage. But as long as you have good vision to give him a TP wall to flank onto, that's still okay. But for G2, they need to force the fight. They're going to the Baron. I feel like Splyce know, can they rush it down in time?
All right, Splyce are somewhat splits up. Senkax is coming from the mid lane. There's a teleport available for Wonder's Jax. He's going to be coming in. Baron will be secured before Splyce can react. Trick decides to jump in. G2 pick up Baron number 2. Shockwave comes out defensively. The barrel from Trashy saves Sven's life, but Mithy's taken down. Sven runs for his life. Mickey can't find the grand entrance, but it's a shutdown. 2 members of G2 down. Splyce, they get their 3rd kill of the game.
And Wonder is going off. He TPs into the flight, and it is perfect for a Jax when the enemy splits apart, because Trick and Expect were focusing on the Baron while Wonder was focusing on killing Sven. They shut him down. They are a 5-man unit, and they're looking to break into the base.
It's nearly 40 minutes in, and despite the Baron buff, G2 are now the ones defending. 30 seconds before Sven is alive. 20 for Mithy. Wonder looks for the counter-strike stun, won't find the target. Mickey's in, he's out, he's flying to safety. Splyce have taken down the inhibitor, and now they maintain control. Trick is looking for more, but there's no prison available to lock down Splyce. and somehow the Splyce boys take control of the map.
And I feel like this is a similar issue to one that we saw at Rift Rivals for G2. Communication. They could have just turned. This is the prime opportunity. Just turn and fight. Because this is what your composition is designed to do. Sven and Perks immediately get engaged. Well, look at Drake and Expect. They're saying, let's finish the Baron, let's finish the Baron. And now the team is divided. Wonder acknowledges this. He dives straight onto the backline. He sees that juicy AD carry and he says, ooh, let me show you what I can do with a real weapon, as he smashes him in the face with a hockey stick, gets an extra kill, and they get themselves an inhibitor.
Oh, that was a great quote. Wonder at the moment, 3 kills, 4 deaths, 420 CS, and you can see the damage in that last fight, but equally shared by Senkux and Kobe when given enough time. The double 80 carries of Splyce taking over the game. By the way, Senkux is one of only 2 players this entire year to get a kill in every single game. Him and Feathervin are the only 2 players in the EU LCS that have got a minimum of 1 kill every single game. Let's see if we can find it before the end of this one.
You're just full of quick stats today, aren't you, Trev?
I am. The stats team is just reminding me to remind you guys, this is for
This could be it, this could be it!
Senkux keeps up his streak for players who have played in at least 11 games, as the stats team want me to tell you. But G2 want an inhibitor. There's no one standing in their way. And with Kobe being killed, it's a 1-for-1. Expect was taken down by Senkux. The one of the 80 carries for Splyce is not available for a follow-up fight. And Wonder does not decide to jump into the thick of it.
So Splyce, they dropped the ball a little bit there. Senkux, yes, he's able to get the kill on to Expect, but there was a 4-man unit grouping up in the bottom lane with Baron empowered minions running straight into your base. Splyce, they had no answer, especially with the Jax separated from the rest of the team, and Senkux off getting a solo kill. That leaves their inhibitor exposed, and now we're equal. The Elder Dragon has spawned. Let's see if G2 can get the fight TP available for Expect.
All right, Expect 15 seconds before he spawns. Kobe 7 on his side. Elder Dragon down to 10k, now below 8, as G2 get a good chunk of damage. The attack and the dissonance onto Splyce, as well as the piercing arrows, keeping Splyce at bay. Rocket Barrage comes down from Senkux. He's trying to zone them away. Trick, where's the Glacial Prison? Not available to use yet. Splyce maintaining some control. Expect, by the way, teleport is available.
Kobe's arrived.
And Kobe's joined the fight. Okay, 3k HP. This could be a smite fight.
Trashy, he's hanging around. They now have Dragon, and here comes the engage.
The quickness comes down. Charms onto Sven. Teleport comes out. G2 get the Elder Dragon. They get the damage buff. Expect has got Cataclysm available to him. Not using it yet. Barrel from Trashy buys some time. But there's a teleport. Oh, my! Interrupted. No! Senkux is in the base. The race is on. Senkux takes tower number 1. There's an inhibitor.
They're trying to recall, but Senkux is going for the end.
There's nobody there to stop it yet. G2 can start the recall. 7 seconds on the clock. Sven
Can he do
up. The Nexus turrets are starting to fall. Senkux needs to try back away. There's going to be members of G2 barreling into the base. Senkux decides to commit. Here comes Expect. There's the Valkyrie away. Senkux is down. The rest of G2, have they just won the game?
G2, they're able to stop the back door. Sven says, this is not MSI. We are not losing this game. And they're going to take game 1 in the series.
G2 eSports ace Splyce. It was crazy and it was chaotic in the mid-game, but G2 bounce back and pick up game 1 in the best of 3.
"43 minutes was the length of that game. We definitely went full late game, that's for sure. Oh, it was very close. Splyce, there were moments of brilliance for them. They were looking close. Senkux very nearly got that backdoor. If Wonder was still alive, maybe they could have done it, but he was the first to drop in that fight. Great smite from Trick to secure that Elder Dragon. Then turn it into a massive team fight, which G2 were able to win. And then they were able to close out the game, but that was by far not clean from G2. That was not good League of Legends. They definitely...
Oh, it was entertaining though.
It was, but
The biggest concern I have is that G2 is still playing very similar to their old style, right? Very much in the late game, very much more towards the scaling styles where they play slower early games. And Splyce, they weren't able to properly punish that early game because they were going for scaling themselves.
Yes.
They wanted to play the side lane, but very rarely did we ever see Wonder become that big side lane threat.
He wasn't a tower threat.
No.
It felt like every time Wonder got near that inner turret on the bottom lane, because I don't remember pushing a lot on the top lane, Expect was there to sort of wave clear and try to keep him at bay. Jax never got fully unlocked on the map.
It was, and also G2, they've already got a lot of the good fights that they wanted. There were one hero there, but then that Baron fight could have very easily gone wrong for this.
Latest first blood of the summer split. Least kills for Splyce all summer long, and that means G2, they take the lead 1-0. Let's send it to the LCS for more.
Thank you very much, Trevor. And I think when we were thinking about seeing Splyce versus G2 after G2 being weakened kind of the whole split and after Rift Rivals, this is maybe not what we had envisioned from the side of Splyce. I feel like they've let us down a bit, the Fisho, but we're going to go a bit more in depth. Was there anything you want to point out straight from the get-go before we get into everything?
I mean, in the end, the game was actually fun because there was a lot of late-game fights, but we talked a lot about it here on the desk. Splyce really misplayed their comp in many different ways. You know, you never really got proper split pushing with double TP, and very few engages happening in their favor as well. And that's just something when you draft this kind of style, you have to be able to execute.
Well, obviously, when you see a Jax, you think it's going to be split push. He's going to be up in this lane's 1v1ing, and it started really well. Also, 20 CS up by 10 minutes, by 6 minutes rather, over his counterpart in Jarvan. And I want you to kind of talk me through the Jax versus Jarvan lane matchup. Expect got very far behind. What would you have liked to see leveled? How would you have liked to see that played for Expect not to get so far behind?
Well, I think the reason he got so behind is I think he just missed a lot of CS because he didn't really look that bad.
Makes
Maybe
sense.
the first 3-4 minutes were pretty rough. He took Q, and I'm assuming he took Q level 1, so I'm assuming he just wanted to push the lane, and if he wants to do that, he needs to play more aggressive. But he kind of played really passive because the Jax would just use his E, and then it was his time to push, but then he didn't act on it. So I would have liked to just see the W, because if you just kill the W, you get like 75 shield level 1, and you pretty much just block his E, and then you just trade with him. You just proc your passive and Grasp of the Undying, and if you do that 2 or 3 times, then you kind of start chunking the Jax, and he has to use his potions. But in this case, he had only Doran shield and 1 potion, so he maybe would have blown the potion, but he still would have been more healthy. He wouldn't have to use his potions, and he probably would have gotten way more CS than he did. So if you take Q like that, you really need to push the lane. You need to do your best to just AFK push, because your base damage is higher on the auto attacks. Sure, Jax has his passive to push faster, but you have your passive as well. When your auto attack does 120 damage to melee minions at level 1, then you kind of need to abuse that if you want to take Q, because you played like you took W and you let them push and you tried to auto-stain them, but you didn't do like either.
So I think a lot of viewers will look at the draft here as well and then be surprised there was a blind pick Jax, like kind of almost out of nowhere. We've seen him, of course, pop up in LCK quite a few times, but Wonder, first time he plays it here in the summer split. Your opinion on blind pick Jax right now? Is it too risky? Is it fine?
It should be okay. He has counters. I would have liked to see the Gnar way more than Jarvan right here, because Gnar would just not destroy, but he would get a CS lead for sure. He would have pressure on the Jax for pretty much the whole game, and it would have been, I think, a safer pick and a stronger pick for lane as well.
Well, luckily though, for G2, there weren't any fights and there wasn't any ganking outside of a couple, and that was something we were looking at to see. We saw how successful at Rift Rivals strong early games were and the snowball out of that. So where should have Splyce gone in your opinion, and where should have G2 gone?
Well, because we had 2 junglers that were basically scaling junglers in Gragas and Sejuani, it really felt like both teams were just happy to say we don't need to do too much early, we can just play passive. I do think when you're picking Kalista, Rakondo, you have a lane you can play around with a lot of CC after level 6. And I mean, go down and maybe at least try and force a summoner with your jungler, or the other way around. We had moments where people were sitting without flashes, and Trick was running around as a level 10 Sejuani, not even used a single ulti. So I would have liked to see a bit more aggression early on, but I understand why both teams were just scaling for late game.
Both teams were scaling. It netted us the latest first blood in the game this split, but we did get an Infernal Drake, and then, you know, the fight is going to break out. So as we break this down, G2 decides to go for it first. What do you make of the counter by Splyce? Because they still get it, but they don't win to manage
I think this was good, but right now Perks just walks past Corki and Kalista, so this is why the fight goes this bad here, because all these 3 people in the pit from Splyce, they all use their flash, so they're all stuck in the pit, and while there are 2 carries from Splyce, they're just hitting Nitty for free. But in the first place, Park should have never been able to walk past the Corki and the Kalista there, because even if you walk past them and you try to trade back, there's always the risk of Kalista just ulting Rakan and throwing it on your Orianna. So that fight should have been Parks being zoned and having a 5v4 over them.
Yeah, we have a follow-up here, because right after this fight breaks out, so they think they have Perks.
They think they have him, then Mithy on the Tahm Kench, after getting like 3 supports banned against him, he still gets one of his best picks, which was kind of surprising. He makes a good play here. And then suddenly another fight is happening where Corby this time gets caught. Wonder even tries to join in, gets the 1 kill, but then will actually end up falling after. And we've had now 2 fights in a row where Splyce, if you are taking that fight with the Jax, like, you have to win the fight then, because now Jax kind of lost his value as a split pusher for a while, because Jarvan got like 1 kill and 4 assists in these fights here, and he could actually hold the Jax until at least we had Trinity Force completed, and made it hard for Wonder to do a whole lot.
Yeah, that was a big question, of course. If you have this Jax, do you not want a team fight at all, or did Splyce still had a good enough comp to team fight? And did they just not execute correctly?
I think Splyce had a really good comp to team fight. They have Gragas and they have Rakan, so if they're really good on their synergy, if Rakan goes in, Gragas can ulti everyone. And as well, Jax, he has both options. He could have set on side lane a lot, because yeah, he's equal to Jarvan, but Jarvan won't be able to kill you. And even if Tahm Kench wants to ulti on you with someone, you have the Corki teleport to back it up. And Jax is pretty slippery as well. He can just run away. And for fights, I think he just misplayed most of the fights, because he's just jumping in with his Eon, so he's kind of acting like disengaged guy when he's not at all. He should be like an off tank. He should wait for Gragas to be the main tank, and he jumps in, and once people start focusing him, that's when you use your counter-strike to just buy more time, because it's 2 seconds of free tanking, but he kind of just neglects that.
He wanted to stun early on.
Yeah, he wants to play engage for this team and try to one-shot someone, but he just can't.
I'm going to cut in for just a second, because obviously we're looking at Jax misplaying and Splyce misplaying the fights, but G2, we thought they were an underdog in this matchup, and they win. So was their team fighting just better overall, their decision-making? Because all I saw was mid-fights, to be honest.
I mean, the first Dragon fight was obviously pretty heavily in their favor, because Perks was allowed to just kind of walk in, and then they had good target selection with the front line first.
They didn't have to do that much macro outside of that good Baron call.
That's kind of why it was a weird game in that sense, where we kind of hoping to see G2 show up and then look like more clean, but we can't expect that to happen already, because they've been so bad basically for 4 or 5 weeks. Them just actually getting a late game win is something, but yeah, it was an odd game in many ways. They had some good Baron calls. I got to give them that credit for sure. But then obviously some of the fights were very even in the late game as well, and they could easily have gone Splyce's way. Like, let's not forget that Senkux was he was at the Nexus at the very end as well.
Yeah, it could have gone the other way.
Could definitely have gone the other way.
It was an odd game. It was an interesting one to break down. Odoamne, I also want to thank you for helping us all day on the desk, so I have a little surprise for you. I'm going to just highlight a couple of great stats from Odoamne. So this first one
finally, it's about
this
Odoamne.
is exciting.
Their 12th kill Camille game was the highest kill game for a top laner. All split. There you go.
Wow, congratulations me, I guess.
Hey, there's lots more coming.
Can you give me like a present or something?
This pen is now yours.
Oh, he's going to ask that back. He likes that pen. Anyway, we're going to move on. G2 got the win in game 1. We'll see if they can close out the series when we come back.